Welcome back. As we said earlier, we are going to cover the participation of Egypt in the G20 summit taking place in Rio de Janeiro. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi arrived in the Brazilian city yesterday as he was received by high statesmen and of course the members of the Egyptian embassy in Brasilia. President Sisi went or headed to Rio de Janeiro upon an invitation by his Brazilian counterpart Lula da Silva, where they also met before the start of the summit. To shed more light on the important event, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of International Relations. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Sir, before going into details, how do you see the importance of inviting Egypt to participate in this crucial summit, in this crucial timing, while there is a lot of crises and geopolitical changes affecting the whole world? Hello?
Hello?
Sir,
yes.
Can you hear me?
I can now hear you, yes.
Sir, I was asking about the importance and the indication of inviting Egypt to participate in the G20 summit and this crucial timing, particularly among the geopolitical changes and crises that affecting the whole world.
Yes, of course, Egypt is playing a very pivotal role here to everyone in the world now, and I think that the invitation to in this gathering is important. This is an important gathering, by the way. It represents 3/4 of the population of the world and about 70% of the global trade. So all countries are very big. They are seeking to handle the multiple issues and very the challenges. And of course, what's happening in the Middle East is of a great concern to everyone in the world. Egypt is exerting all its efforts and mobilizing the international community to put a stop on the war that is there. The meeting also is discussing the issue of poverty. The meeting is the G20. Every year chooses a topic, a major topic, and this topic of the year is dealing with poverty, and how to overcome poverty, and how to make the world a better place for everyone.
And sir, the summit is taking place right after Donald Trump's return to the White House. Do you think that this is going to have an effect on what's going to happen, particularly that during his presidential campaign, Trump focused again and again on America First policy?
Yes, I think that that is very important to prepare agenda for dealing with the agenda of Trump, because there are so many debates about his agenda. Some people think it would be America first, and there will be a state of seclusion, and he will keep his door open to himself. But he said something otherwise. He said something different from that. He said that he is going to stop on war, but sometimes he said contradictory statements. Anybody wants to be prepared by preparing their agenda, and I think that the masses of the world and the leaders of the Group 20 are very keen to have very important policies regarding energy. One of the most important and pressing issues searched by the group every year is energy, renewable energy, and you know that Mr. Trump has a different agenda for energy. So these countries must be prepared for having the fair-minded agenda to meet his agenda, or to have dialogue with him regarding coming to a compromise or coming to the best way for the entire world.
Yeah, and also the summit is taking place right after the end of another important summit, which is COP29, which took place in Baku, Azerbaijan. And unfortunately, the final communiques or the recommendations, you name it, of this summit was disappointing, particularly for the developing nations, as still the developing nations, and particularly in Africa, are paying the dear price of what's going on in the West, and the climate change very negative impacts are suffered mainly in those developing countries or states. Also, do you think that this is going to have an impact on the G20 summit, or at least is it going to be discussed to try to find some solutions for the climate change crisis?
I think this should be in the very heart of the agenda for discussion, because you have two things related to each other. The ministers of finance are there, the budgets are there, the money is there to be how to find some good portion of money to deal with the challenges, unbelievable and unprecedented environmental challenges, and unfortunately, as you have already mentioned in your question, that many of the responsible or the key countries in the world pay no serious attention to that. And again, when you have a new president coming like Trump, yes, he mentioned something along these lines. He mentioned that despite the group is searching for renewable energy and sustainable renewable energy, he wants to go back to the old traditional way of dealing with energy. And a lot of discrepancies that need to be settled. So the group is very keen to address that, and that is also related to the issue of poverty, which is a major slogan of this group this year now.
Yeah, I meant that, and this was going to be my my coming question regarding this global alliance against hunger and poverty, which is going to be launched through the G20 summit this year. Any idea about the elements or the list which is going to be written to make this alliance not only an alliance, not only ink on paper, not only something theoretical, but to implement its elements on the ground and to turn it into signing deals, for example, signing memo of understanding, making sure that the West or the developed countries are going to have a say in that?
Oh, yes, of course. I think that the experience of several countries, particularly Brazil and China, they handled the poverty by small business administration, by small and medium business. And they also, and Egypt really is ready for telling many people about how we can save energy, save water. We have experience in that, but I think all collective efforts should be poured into a very important agenda, collective agenda for the world to handle renewable energy, financing, and dealing with. Of course, this has implication for dealing with poverty. And when it comes to poverty, I think that the group is very flexible every year to generate committees and to generate research groups so as to meet some kind of answers for challenging situations. And I think that the issue of poverty needs a lot of experiences to be scrutinized. You remember Dr. Muhammad Yunus of Bangladesh, for instance, experience like that should be highlighted. Dr. Muhammad Yunus of Bangladesh, invented the issue of the bank for the poor, and that was very creative and out of the box. And by the way, he made that effort, and he was a success in Bangladesh to the extent that he was lately nominated to be, and he is now the acting president of Bangladesh. I think experiences like that, Brazil has a lot of experiences when it comes to this, and I think that getting in contact with this group would help the entire world formulate a global agenda for dealing with the complicated issue of poverty and hunger.
Amen to that, sir. And I think that this is going to lead to the illegal migration fine, because the southern side of the Mediterranean should not be all the time a source of illegal immigrants who are making such troubles to the north. And unfortunately, until the moment, there are huge losses of life because of this issue, and there is such a good experience by Egypt in fighting this phenomena, and it's going to be, I think, one of the topics which is going to be discussed through the speeches of Egypt throughout the event. President Sisi is going to deliver Egypt's speeches in different workshops or sessions in the summit, and it's going to tackle the efforts exerted by the state to implement on the ground or to achieve the sustainable development goals. How do you see this, and how do you see also that this is not the first time Egypt is doing so, as Egypt participated in the G20 summit back in 2016 when it was under the Chinese chairmanship, in 2019 I think under the Japanese, and the last one it was under the Indian presidency, and also Egypt was there.
Yes, I think that the president's speech in that direction would be extremely important, because there are two axes now. An axe that to put a stop on the wars in the area, the displacement that we have seen in Lebanon, and the terrible situation over there, in addition to what was previous to that, made a lot of movement, demographic movement, made a lot of refugees. And I think that Egypt in particular is hosting more than 10 million of them, and this is cost a lot, and we must be pragmatic, asking the international community to help, because Egypt is dealing with many global crises, and this is one of them, and this should be shared by the entire international community. And I think that the president was keen to attract the attention to this fact in COP27 and the many organizations and the world events he attended. And I think he's going to stress that again, because we have to push our agenda in that direction, because it is a fair agenda. People should share, the international community should share the problem created by these wars. And one of the most important things now, and the very pressing, is to put a stop on the war and not to be escalated further.
Amen to that. Restoring stability and security in the Middle East is a top priority. And when it comes to the 10 million non-Egyptians who are living here with us, we do not call them refugees. I think we are the only country who are calling them guests. Sir, also on the sidelines of the G20 summit, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi already held a meeting with his Brazilian counterpart, Lula da Silva, and they agreed to raise the relations between Egypt and Brazil to a strategic partnership. How do you see this move?
Yes, I think this is a very smart move, because, you know, now after having said for many decades the dialogue should be there between North and South, now we have come to a convention that South to South should have the priority. South to South, much more integrative, much more understanding of each other, much cement the relationship between its members. So I think especially Brazil and Egypt had long history of good relationship. So I think this is a very smart move to raise that kind of relationship to the level of strategic orientation in all fields.
Yeah. Sir, I enjoyed really our discussion. Thank you very much for your input and have a very good day. We were very much delighted to have with us via phone Professor Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of International Relations. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.